we're going to give you a live look at the biggest act in the air show right now. Here it is. In fact, it buzzed us as we were going to commercial break. United 777 swooping so low over the bay, you'd probably be able to see the passengers' faces if there are actually any in there. But that thing is huge.
Yeah, it's rare to get to see a plane this size this close. There are just 3 specially trained pilots on board for this particular flight. The 777 actually flies twice during each air show, and it is impressive each time. Their route takes them over the Golden Gate Bridge and then low over the bay, which is what you're seeing here, before they make that turn around Alcatraz and pass by again. So if you're watching this from the East Bay, if you're watching from Treasure Island, you'll get a good view as well.
Yeah, it's so big, it looks like it's just going in slow motion in the air. And if you can't tell from these pictures just how enormous this wide-body jet really is, check this out.
And we're standing inside of a General Electric 90 turbofan engine, and now you can get the size of this incredible machine. To see a commercial airliner fly over an iconic setting like San Francisco Bay, it's amazing. I like the initial pass because it's a little bit of inspiration when you see that big airplane at 300 feet. We want them to say, wow. There's a pilot shortage in commercial aviation, and we hope, like so many young men and women, that look up and say, I want to do that. You can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's so, Ryan, this is my first time watching the air show from this vantage point where we are here at the St. Francis Yacht Club, and it truly is the best view to see this plane up close.
Yeah, there it is right over there, the 777, right over our left shoulder. So if you want to do that, what Scott Carvett was talking about, who you just saw there, you can help. He trains the 777 pilots who fly these big, massive maneuvers. Scott flew in the air show earlier today. In fact, not with United, with the Patriots. So there's a lot of guys who kind of double up flying different planes. They're pretty talented. So he's with the Patriots team as well. And despite that fact that our own military can't be here this year, Fleet Week is still celebrating its 250th birthday of the U.S. Navy.
The Bay Area obviously has a rich naval history, and as Elizabeth Cook shows us, you may drive right over a piece of that history every day and not even know it.
Nestled on the edge of Yerba Buena Island, hidden under the noisy freeway underpass of the Bay Bridge, lies a 3-story mansion known as the Nimitz House. Few know and love this home more than Rear Admiral John Bidoff.
It was an honor and a pleasure, and I would sometimes walk through this home and wonder who sat there and who visited and when, and what was the occasion.
Admiral Bidoff lived in the mansion on Yerba Buena Island from 1989 to 1992, when he was the Navy's regional commander, as well as being in charge of all the combat logistics ships in the Pacific Fleet. He would often entertain fellow military leaders from around the world, but this was always Admiral Chester Nimitz's home.
And here was a picture of Admiral Nimitz in uniform. And I hosted the first Soviet ship to come to San Francisco since World War II. And I had the admiral and the captain and others here, and they all wanted to have their photos taken standing here with the picture of Admiral Nimitz in the background. It was incredible.
Admiral Chester Nimitz was named the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Fleet 10 days after the attack on Pearl Harbor.
I am calling you to inform you that I have selected you to be the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific. And I want you to get out there as soon as possible and stay the hell out there until we win this war.
2 years after signing the Instrument of Surrender, ending the war in the Pacific in September of 1945, Admiral Nimitz moved back to the Bay Area. He moved into the mansion in 1963, 18 years after World War II ended in the Pacific Theater. His health was beginning to fail. The Navy stepped in to help.
The Navy said to him, why don't you come back to public quarters? And if you do, because you're always on active duty, we can supply you with the staff, the cooks, and the driver, and an aide, and all the things that you are entitled to. And Admiral Nimitz said, well, how about Quarters 1 on Yerba Buena Island?
Quarters 1 then became known as the Nimitz House. Admiral Nimitz would continue his public service, entertaining dignitaries from around the world, many of them from Japan, breaking bread and shaking hands with some who were once the enemy.
It's very unusual for the vanquished to come and pay homage to the victor. There was a desk here. It was, and I located it. It was in the basement, and I saw this old desk in the basement. I looked at an old photograph. The photograph showed that was the desk that Nimitz had in here. So I had it restored. The doors were ceremoniously opened, and you were greeted with this beautiful table set up to honor the guests. 6, 7. So it's seven bedrooms and 6 baths.
While Admiral Biddulph lived and worked at the Nimitz House, he would often call on the late Admiral Nimitz for advice.
It's almost like he talked to me. You know, that's silly, but I would sit there and say, well, Admiral, what would you do under these circumstances? And I would think about it. Now, I mean, I didn't hear anyone responding, but in my mind, I seemed to get a response, and it was always, you know, right out of his leadership example.
Admiral Nimitz died in the Yerba Buena mansion on February 20th, 1966. He was 80 years old.
This is the room that Admiral Nimitz died in. And the reason I knew that is I had his daughter, I hosted his daughter for dinner, Sister Mary Aquinas, and she took us on a tour of the quarters, and I had mentioned that the room down the hall, I said, of course, this is where your father died. She said, oh no, that's not correct. She said, it was this room. She said, I happen to know that because I was here.
Today, the Nimitz House is empty. Nobody has lived there since the 1990s, after a bitter battle between the city and the federal government over who controlled the property and a dispute over the location of the New Bay Bridge. The mansion closed to the public for good. There is broken glass and crumbling parts of the ceiling. Time has taken its toll.
I'm very sad. And I was here about a year or so ago and did a video. It has deteriorated exponentially since I've been here, and it's hard for me to accept.
Admiral Biddulph, who had a remarkable career in the Navy, is now committed to another act of service, keeping the memory of the Nimitz House, though now hidden under walls of concrete and steel, alive, along with the legacy of its most renowned resident.
Yeah, hard to believe that a lot of us, we drive over the Bay Bridge, have no idea as we're going to Yerba Buena Island that mansion is right there.
I'm taking a look.
I know you keep looking at the Boeing 777.
I'm looking at the 777 because it's as it flies over the city and then pulls up again. It's just such an amazing sight to see.